Hey, what's up guys? Gon's here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Just wanted to report on stuff happening around the world and everything kind of converging here in America this week. This is the big week. You know, September 23rd has been talked about for several months. For some, it's been several years. And who knows what'll happen? Maybe nothing. Most likely nothing that's terribly significant. At the same time, I do want to address this issue this week, especially because there was a video I made back at the beginning of August called 27 Things That Will Happen in September, October 2015, and it went viral. I mean, I had no idea this video would go this viral. It's got 1.3 million views, and I'm actually not too stoked about that because I did it as a favor sort of to people asking, you know, all the stuff about September. I had plenty of people asking what's going to happen. And my whole thing was kind of like, hey, I don't think anything real big's going to happen, but here are the events scheduled. Here's a list. A guy sent me a list of things and, you know, it was a pretty good list. Not everything is a prediction or anything like that. They're just things on the calendar. So I just, you know, wanted to put it together and present it. And so I did. And I don't know why, but it just went crazy viral. And on one hand, it shows that people are curious about this issue, about eschatology, about, you know, what's happening in our world. And that's a good sign. But on the other hand, it brought out the trolls in droves. And I don't mean just trolls. I think just a whole bunch of people who, you know, really didn't grasp what I was saying in the video at all, came out. And I mean, you can go through the comment section. There's 5,800 comments, and a lot of them, I'd say about 80 to 90% of it is all about, oh, you know, this is all stupid, you know, the world's not going to end in September and, you know, all this stuff, which again, I never said the world was going to end in September. I never said the rapture was going to happen. I never said that Jesus is returning. I didn't say any of that stuff. But here you have all these people, just because there's a video made on this topic, a bunch of people coming out saying, you know, oh, nothing's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Mark my words, you know, I'll be here next month, you know, talking about how nothing happened and all this. So I guess it sort of backfired a little bit in that regard. I didn't mean for it to become this hub and this place to create a target for the Christian truther community. It created an opportunity for the haters, you know, of Christianity and especially Christian truthers to come out and, you know, voice their opinion, at least in the comment section here. But in any case, there are a few things on that list that, you know, obviously didn't come to pass. Obviously, Israeli Rabbi says Messiah is coming. He said this would happen on September 12th. And obviously, unless, you know, something happened in secret that we don't know about, that didn't really happen, at least publicly. And, you know, that really leads me to this thinking of false prophet. You know, Rabbi Cahn issued a call for Jews to move to Israel in preparation for the imminent arrival of the Messiah. And I still think that this thinking is prominent and important in the overall perspective of biblical prophecy. But in general, you know, because he set a date and that date didn't yield anything, this indicates false prophet. Okay, so that's got to be clear here. And I'm not in support of anti-Semitism. That's not what I'm saying here. What I am saying is that many of these rabbis are mystical in nature, and we need to be clear about that. These people all need Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, period. Now, I just want to set up this week with this video. I'm going to try to produce a lot more videos and really keep an eye on everything that's going on. Oh, by the way, because nothing happened, you know, the economy didn't crash, you know, with the Shemitah year and all this stuff. I don't know where Jonathan Cahn is at this moment, but it seems as though his whole run has ended, at least for now. I'm sure he'll come out with another book that either has, you know, another date or at least some sort of sensationalized marker, you know, for a coming chaos. And although I think his credibility is shot in the eyes of many people, a good majority will still support him, you know, and all this stuff. And so, but I personally tend to think that, you know, although he didn't necessarily set hard dates, things that he predicted definitely didn't come to pass. And not to mention, you know, I'm not going to do a whole Jonathan Cahn diatribe here, but there are certain things about his theology and eschatology that I am extremely concerned about. So I'll just leave that there. Now, you know, the UN resolution with the state of Palestine, September 11th, Jade Helm ending on September 15th. Those are still, I think, in the air in terms of what went down. Obviously Jade Helm, during that training period, nothing happened that we know about, but perhaps the troops are in place and ready for anything that might occur in the next few weeks or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. But at the same time, I feel like the non-event, if they had something planned to lock down the United States, it was definitely thwarted by the amount of attention that Jade Helm 15 received. And in that perspective, I understand why they would maybe pull out and not do anything during this time period, just to try to denounce the conspiracy theorist and the whole community of truthers and, throw them under the bus, basically. And so that's something that I think went down. And so on one hand, it may have been prevented by the amount of attention it got, but at the same time, the truther community was definitely slapped around by the, mainstream cohorts that said, see, nothing happened. You conspiracy theorists are all nuts, So obviously, the mainstream media that sort of took on that verbiage are funded by the people, the very people that are running the show. So no surprises there. But this week is huge. There's a lot going on this week, okay? There's a lot of Islamic feasts and festivals happening. You also have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which starts on the evening of the 22nd. You also have the International Day of Peace is today. And I think it's interesting that while there are certainly a lot of geopolitical events happening, it seems like a lot of people are meeting and having, getting together and all this stuff. It was just reported by Reuters that Israel and Russia met today to coordinate military action on Syria, with Netanyahu. Netanyahu shown here meeting with Vladimir Putin today, saying that they are going to make joint effort in Syria. And the interesting line that jumped out at me, and obviously I'm always looking at stuff from a little bit of a different perspective. Some say crazy perspective, but we'll have to see. It says here in a section of the article called Keeping U.S. Informed, it said, quote, a U.S. official told Reuters that U.S.-Israeli coordination allowed the allies to share classified technology for identifying Russian aircraft over Syria. Quote, we know how to spot them clearly and quickly, end quote, the official said. Separately, U.S. officials said Russia had started flying surveillance missions with drone aircraft in Syria in what appeared to be Moscow's first air operations there since beginning its buildup. The officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, could not say how many aircrafts were involved. I think it's always interesting where it talks about classified technologies for identifying Russian aircraft over Syria. If an aircraft identification technology is classified, how much technology do you think they have? I mean, this seems like technology that doesn't seem too complex in terms of identifying Russian aircraft. It doesn't sound like anything that is super high tech or super intense with what we know technology is capable of today. So I find it interesting that they, try to spin this classified technology stuff when really I think the real classified technologies go way beyond that. And I think the global elite have access to that technology and perhaps are even using it to some extent. But that's one story that's interesting and obviously coming to a head here. Today is also the International Day of Peace, which is so bizarre to me. The UN, declared day, the Day of Peace. They have a 30-second video here that basically promotes this idea that today is the Day of Peace. So, put down your arms and feed the hungry. And, so donate to the UN. Okay, great. Get rid of the hungry, of course. But for people that have really dug into the issue of global hunger and, why 1/8 of the world is still starving, the UN has a lot to do with it. Okay, so maybe they're having a little bit of a guilty conscience here, or maybe not. Maybe they're just using this opportunity to make it seem like they are, a very benevolent organization, when really they're the ones responsible for a lot of the depletion of third world nations. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go dig into some of this stuff. It's definitely interesting and, as far as I'm concerned, true. And again, the interesting thing about global leaders, meeting in America, the president of China, Xi Jinping, is meeting in America this week. CNN reported on this, and on the 22nd, which is tomorrow, he's going to be meeting with Microsoft CEO and Starbucks CEO. They're interested in spreading their businesses into China. And then Wednesday, the 23rd, the big day, he's going to attend a business roundtable co-hosted by Paulson Institute. And there will be 15 Chinese CEOs to participate, along with 15 U.S. CEOs. The companies that represent the U.S. CEOs: Hyatt, Pepsi, General Motors, Honeywell, DuPont, Microsoft, Boeing, Amazon, IBM, Starbucks, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Disney, Cisco, and Dow Chemical. And again, this is kind of like a corporate global consolidation meeting, it seems like. The world powers are coming together in some way, so we're seeing this arm of the New World Order in some ways. But also, the president of China is going to be visiting Boeing and meet with their chairman, Jim McNerney. And that's another really interesting part of this whole thing. So, that's happening on the West Coast, and on the East Coast, the Pope is coming. The Pope was reported as just meeting with Fidel Castro. And, there's already some tension there in terms of some of the U.S. leaders and their disagreement with the Pope, and saying, the Pope shouldn't talk on hot button issues while he's in America. We'll have to see. And one other thing I want to report on that, is a little near and dear to me: Japan, the country's legislation expanding military role abroad endangers regional peace. And this is mentioned by China. So, obviously the U.S. and Japan are allies, and the Japanese were actually, a lot of them were coming out in droves, hundreds of thousands of people protesting against this legislation. But they pass it anyway. Basically, they changed the verbiage of certain laws that were put in place since World War II. And now the Japanese military will be able to fight overseas for the first time in 70 years. And, not to defend their own nation or homeland, but to fight for allied nations, for example, the United States. And so this is kind of a big deal because, Japan hasn't been really an offensive nation since World War II. They've been an ally of America. They've been a fairly peaceful nation. They haven't really caused a lot of trouble. They've obviously, given video games and cars and stuff like that. So, but anyway, I get the feeling that this is all part of the New World Order agenda as well. And they're really trying to get global leaders to yield to certain moves. And I feel like this is another one of those cases. So all this happening this week, I think as believers, we need to stay vigilant here. This is a very important week for the people that have been talking about September 23rd for a long time. Now, we don't know if anything's going to happen. I really don't care if anything happens or not. We have to be watchful. We have to be mindful. And our prayers should be that God moves and convicts people in various areas of government, politics, because obviously not everybody in government is evil or anything like that. The overall system is controlled by Satan, but the individual people are just individual people. They have free will. They can reject certain aspects of legislation, certain things that are happening in the world. They have the power to, go against it. And so do we. We have the power to pray against these things, to pray against the principalities and powers that are in place, trying to create and establish this global prison that's been built up now for quite some time. And we're seeing more and more of it put in place every year, every month. But we can be salt and light. We are called to be salt and light. And salt prevents decay. That's what it was used for, to prevent the decay of meat. And same thing, we can prevent the decay, and at the same time, we can shine God's light upon the world. And so that maybe God's truth can emanate through the believers here on this earth right now. And so we can petition before the Lord that he moves in all this stuff in a way that is glorifying to him. So those are my thoughts. I mean, obviously there's a lot more going on here. U.S. President Obama nominates first openly gay Army secretary. You have the whole issue with the boy who was suspended for wearing an American flag t-shirt. There's all kinds of stuff going down. So again, be in prayer, stay watchful, be sober-minded, and share anything else that you see that might be relevant to this in this comment section. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have an awesome day. God bless, guys.